everyone. Welcome to the SaaSy Talks. Today we have another guest, another founder from the SaaSy ecosystem in India. We have Aniket Bajpai, the founder of Limechat. Thank you so much, Aniket, and welcome to the SaaSy Talks. And thank you so much for taking out the time and being with us on a Saturday morning. So, Aniket, to start off with, I have been very excited about this podcast, especially because whatever names that I have in mind, and especially people who are in my network, you definitely stand out from rest of the founders. Of course, you can count it as a personal opinion, but because you are young at age, right, and you've done so much already, I think this is a complete different kind of journey that probably we'll be listening to about today, and that is what we'll be doing on the SaaSy Talks. We've invited founders and leaders from the SaaSy ecosystem in India specifically so far, and we've tried to understand how the journey has been. I'm sure it will help a lot of people who are thinking towards the entrepreneurship side of the things, right? So welcome once again. So Aniket, we're going to start off obviously early. You passed out, I think. In 2018 from IIT Delhi, right? So
Yeah.
this is just to give everyone context how young you are, and it's amazing. And I definitely envy you for what
Uh,
you've achieved. So let's start with your first journey. I think this was Con Science, right? That's how you pronounce it.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So it was a social media news analytics for campaigning, right? So
Yeah.
how did this idea come into your mind? What was this? When was this exactly that you thought of it? And please also shed light on how you met, Nikhil. I think you guys have been together since your first
Yes. Yes.
company, right? Please.
Awesome. Yeah. Very excited to be on the podcast, Ishan, and share my story. Always excited to talk about SaaS and our journey. So we started. So actually, I always wanted to do a startup right since I was in college, and that is actually where I met my co-founder also. So Nikhil and I were batchmates in IIT Delhi, and actually in the last 2 years of college, we were in the AI lab, so we were doing AI research at IIT Delhi, and because IIT Delhi is such an institution, a lot of industries and governments they keep on approaching
Yeah.
the labs there with various problem statements that they have. So through that, we were actually able to get a very good sense of what are the problems that were happening in the industry and what were people excited, what were the kind of problems if solved that they could create a big delta, right? And that was our aim also when we were starting a startup. That our edge should be technology, that there should
Right.
be some recent breakthrough where we have a forte, right, based on which we will create our differentiation. So, so if I talk about that, there were a lot of brands, a lot of companies who used to come to our lab, who had this problem statement. Ki they wanted to understand what were people talking about them on the internet, right? How much of it was positive and negative? What were the topics about which they were being associated with, right? And these are large enterprises or large public figures who get talked about very frequently. So
Hmm.
it was a big data problem. It was this was something which could change day by day. It could change region by region, and in social media, it really multiplies that data, right? Especially if you are a big company, there are lots of places where people keep on talking about you. So these companies wanted to get detailed insights about what are the things working well for them for their image and what is not working well. So at that time, actually, we did not do any research at all before jumping into the idea. We just decided that we have to start somewhere, right? So
Right.
we have to start something, and because we could see 4 or 5 people already interested in this problem statement, we decided to just go with it, not do any market research, not think about the differentiation. We just wanted to build something which people would want to buy and want to pay money for. So
Amazing.
that was our first tool that we used to scrape news and social media websites and all the data we used to specific to a brand, right? We used to gather that data and we used to give them
Hmm.
some insights on what were the positive and negative things, what were the topics being talked about with respect to them, and how were the trends, right? So this was something very useful, and yeah, we worked with several large organizations during that period. In fact, Conscience, um, we started that in Jan of 2019, and we just built an MVP in 2 months and launched it around March. So, and we worked with a lot. We worked with some customers, and at the end, we realized it is very hard to scale that there are some established competitors also, and there are a lot of kind of customers who don't pay very well actually. So we were focused on India itself, right? We were not doing a global
Yeah.
SaaS thing. So in India, at least, it was not a large market. So in fact, by the end of the year, we decided to exit that. So in November, we were able to exit from that as well.
Okay. 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 So one thing
Yeah.
that I think that comes across from your this first part of your journey, I feel, which is something that is useful for everyone. I think there's a culture now that has come where you start associating and entrepreneurship with also, that you can drop out from college and you can still build businesses. There have been a few case studies, but there are very few case studies. I think yours is a
Yeah.
very good example of how what impact a good college actually brings to your life, right? The kind of exposure that AI labs and IIT Delhi gave you. I think that was the beginning of the journey, and also helped you find a really good co-founder. So that's something
Absolutely.
that everyone should understand, that it's not just yes, definitely people started questioning about the it's just a degree, but the kind of exposure apart from the textbook knowledge that comes in through colleges, I think that is very important in everybody's journey. And everyone, the young people, if at all watching this, right, they should understand this, that the colleges are absolutely important as well, right? So what
Yeah.
happened then, right? In 2019 itself, year span, this is amazing. It's always good to learn and then unlearn and probably execute and fail quickly so that you
Hmm.
realize, and that's what you guys did, and you took an exit. And how did the level 3 AI chatbot or the chatbot for e-commerce, where did that come from?
Got it. So, as you said, like in the first journey, we had just dived headfirst and we had a lot of learnings. And one big learning that we had was to do some competitive analysis and to do some market research before we actually start. Because
Yeah.
if you are really serious about doing a startup, that means you're going to invest the next 5 to 10 years of your life there. So it makes
Absolutely.
sense to invest 3 months just going in deep, in depth, and figuring out everything about the idea. Okay, what will that space look like in 5 years? What will be the differentiation? How big of a market is it? Right? Where all are your customers? Are they already paying for something like this? How much do they pay? How do you sell to them? So just kind of understanding that ecosystem and spending time over there is worth it. So when we started again, both of us had a lot of background doing AI research in conversational AI. In fact, both of us have published research papers as well in top journals
Amazing. Amazing.
around conversational AI. And around that time, at 2020, there was this huge revolution which happened around transformers, which is actually
Hmm.
what culminated into the GPT launch recently. It is just a huge transformer, right? So the concept of transformers started picking up in 2020, and we could see that is this is going to be a revolution, right? 2 3 years
Yeah.
down the line, and we already had expertise doing that. So we
Hmm.
used some rudimentary form of transformers which are available over there, and
Hmm.
we realized that at that point, in fact, we started just before the pandemic. If I give you a sense, right, we really started evaluating ideas around Feb of 2020, right, and in March the pandemic hit. So in the pandemic, we saw a huge opportunity. We saw a lot of trends happening. We saw
Hmm.
commerce, online commerce really taking off. We saw this whole D2C revolution happening. And we saw Meta releasing these APIs for WhatsApp, making it much more easy for businesses to use WhatsApp.
That's right.
And as a customer, to I had always felt that customer support was broken. It is very hard. Like if you ever faced a problem, right, when you have ordered something online, or if you have done anything, like if you want to recharge your phone and it's not happening, if you want to get a new phone connection, anything like that, that is a very horrible process where which includes
Agreed.
emails and calls and stuff like that. And same if you are going and buying something, and if you have a question, like there is no option for you other than to just leave it, right? Because there is nobody to really explain. Like if somebody has built
Yeah.
a coffee brand which has vitamins in it, or if there is a cream which has caffeine in it, right? I would definitely want to understand what it is about before I just go ahead and buy, because it is something very unique, right? And it is very hard to do that. And I am that kind of person who likes to converse and get full clarity before I make that decision of buying, or even during support. And I saw all this coming together with the rise of commerce and with the opening up of
Hmm.
WhatsApp and with this AI revolution, that we could finally give that kind of human level experience at scale, when people want support or when people want to buy something. And that could actually happen on the medium which we use the most, which is WhatsApp. So
Hmm.
that is when the idea clicked, the vision at least clicked, and the vision was that we would enable all of this online commerce to happen on WhatsApp and create a huge wave around WhatsApp commerce. Right. So we decided that would be a big market globally. That would be a big differentiation for us as well because of our forte in AI. And we decided to
Yeah.
then go ahead and start talking to people, evaluate the market, and take that bet. So so yeah, that is in March, and we started seriously March mid actually on the 14th of March we started seriously exploring this idea, and we around after talking to customers and building an MVP around August or September we had our first few customers, and in fact
Right.
most of them are already still with us 3 years later.
Amazing, amazing,
Yes.
amazing. So I think one very important thing to pick up from your both of your, the starting of Limechat and conscience is that you followed the so-called ideal path, right? You didn't rush into things. You made sure. Obviously, conscience was more about just going ahead with it and just trying things out. But Limechat, it was a more calculated risk that you took. Did research. You talked to a lot of customers. You built the MVP first. I think this is also something that people should understand. That the MVP is as simple as it might sound. As a concept is very important for the beginning in the beginning of the journey. I think it gives you so how did the MVP play and where did Y Combinator come into picture? I think it was very recent. Very the next step was for you to get into this
Yes, yes,
accelerator program. So what was that kind of?
right.
How did that journey look like? And were there moments during that, because I think it's a high pressure situation, you're trying things out, was there a moment during that you realize, okay, we're not going in the right direction? Did you at all pivot? What happened?
Yeah, so initially when we were buying customers, sorry, when we were talking to customers, it was very obviously it is just a big deal getting somebody on board, right? And you cannot very well define ki, you also yourself are discovering ki who is the right kind of customer to work with, what kind of scale or what kind of industry and so on. So we just onboarded 10 customers, and because at that we had heard about Y Combinator. In fact, we had learned doing a startup, watching all of their videos about they had this startup school series at that time, which was really
That's right.
good. So
Yeah.
we had learned a lot from that, and so we decided if we could get those kind of people, if we could directly learn from those people, that would be really awesome. So we applied to Y Combinator at that time, and parallelly we were our main focus was obviously our business and figuring out a product market fit, figuring out
Right.
who are the right customers for us, what kind of value are they getting, will it be sticky, and so on. And in that, so we were actually in a very experimental stage
Yeah.
when we actually went to Y Combinator. Now, when we went there, when we actually, so they took an interview, they saw that we had gotten this traction, and so between them, when we applied and the interview itself, we were able to get some good traction. Like we went from maybe
Absolutely.
5 to 15 customers, so they probably liked that,
Nice.
and that is
Yeah.
why they decided to um, matlab make us part of the cohort, Winter 21
Yeah.
cohort as well.
Nice.
So this happened in 2020. So like in our November, maybe October of 2020, we would have gotten selected into Y Combinator, and it started in November. So you have some time to kind of accept or not be a part of that cohort, and there is 1 week where you can just go and try it out. So over there, when
Right.
we went, we realized that Y Combinator is a little bit different. It is a lot about preparing you for scale and preparing you for the next fundraise. So they have this demo day where
Yeah.
effectively have to raise a good seed round, and to do that you have to show some good traction during Y Combinator. So ideally you have to have some things figured out. Like you have to have a, I would say, stable product and a way to acquire customers and know how to acquire the right customers. And
Right.
for us, we were already really struggling with our initial 15 customers because at that time we didn't have a team. We had maybe 3, 4 people totally in the team. So it was just us doing the customer success, doing the sales, building the product, also even doing coding, everything, right? So
Wow.
it wouldn't make sense just going from 15 to 30 customers and giving
Hmm.
a very bad experience to all of them. It would be better, we thought, कि if we reduce the customers, if we see out of those 15 people who are the ones who are adopting it properly and figuring out those 5 people, and then once we had that answer, only then scaling up. And in retrospect, it was good because it took us 4 or 5 months to do that. Like actually, we started our scaling. From November till March, it took us to figure out who was the right customer, what is the product that is working,
Wow,
how is it adding value, and only from March we could actually start scaling. Right.
amazing.
So that is why we decided not to go there, and parallelly we already got some offers from VCs in India to do a pre-seed kind of round in that period. So we decided to do
Got it.
to do a pre-seed round, do some smaller dilution as well, right? Matlab get
Right.
some better terms over there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
move ahead with that. So it is very important to get that right partner who can see what you are, who doesn't have that cookie cutter thing, right? Who understands what you want. Ki for you, this is an experimental stage, and this is how you want to run it. So if somebody is able to understand that and respect that, that is a very good thing to have that kind of partner.
Absolutely. And you got this kind of partner only eventually?
Yes, so we were able to get Stellaris Venture Partners and Pi Ventures to invest in us at that time, and both of them had this kind of mindset. They were able to understand how we want to build this, and they were really supportive and helpful for us at this stage, to help us figure out that product market fit. In fact, even later when we were expanding into different geographies and so on,
Yeah.
they have been very useful. We think in the same way and on how to kind of
That is amazing.
approach it in the initial stages. Yeah.
That's awesome. This is so insightful, the kind of journey that you've had, and it has been so uh, how do I say? I think calculated is a good word. I think you guys really went deep inside to understand what is the need of the hour rather than just like most of the time what happens is that the funding is the hype, right? That craze is all about funding, and you want to focus just on that. As an entrepreneur, you resonate with funding. I think that is where you need to sit down and really figure out um, is how much you need, and is it what you need at that moment. I think that is something that you guys did amazingly well, going from 15 to 5 clients just in order to build that right definition of your recipe and then scale. This is
Hmm.
simply amazing. I'm not even kidding. This feels so good to hear. This is class act, I suppose. Because we work with a lot of clients early stage, right? And this is also the first time we've worked for over a year, but this is the first time I'm hearing the entire story. I feel like this is class apart, right? And you guys have done amazingly well. Awesome. So yeah, then why see you didn't go through? You got the pre-seed kind of funding. You got the right partners, and that's how Limechat began, right? So you guys have been in the AI, as you mentioned, right, in the AI space, and probably you were among the few that always knew about things like GPT that were being worked upon in the world, right? And
Yes.
and so how has Chat GPT impacted your current operations? Because as you mentioned, right, you already had the AI algorithms in your chatbot. Like, how is that?
Nice.
Has it now started helping you more? Has it made your life easier?
Hmm.
How's it going in that direction? How do you
Yes.
think GPT is helping out the various industries?
Yeah. So for us, to GPT was a big boon. Many people who are outside the chatbot world, they think that with GPT you can very easily build an automated experience. You can just take that API and you can plug in some data. Let us say you give it all the website data, and then it'll answer all kinds of questions that you want. But in practice, what happens is it doesn't work like that. And if you actually try to do that with GPT, you will get a lot of wrong answers, because that is one big failure of GPT, that it hallucinates a lot. In fact, like there is an entire class action lawsuit which I saw today, which is happening on them because of that. But
Oh,
uh, but the thing is, like, if you go and ask them, ki, hey, what kind of discount can you give me? It replies different answers, random answers, which it has itself generated, and it gives that to the customer. Okay, it's 10%. Tomorrow it will say it's 50%, because there is no way to control it, right? Though that is something which it's just generating. It's not really understanding that thing. Or if you ask GPT, is this cream really going to solve the acne problem? So it might say, absolutely, yeah, that is completely going to solve that problem for you. And many times that is not acceptable, right? In fact, just controlling the tone of voice and the brand, making the brand consistent when you are talking to your customers in the sales journey and during marketing is very important.
yeah.
And that is something which is very hard to do with GPT in a vanilla form. But again, there are a lot of advantages because GPT is really good at understanding what you want and generating answers. So what we did was, um, we set up some guardrails around GPT. We used all the rules and the AI which we had built, um, to give some very specific use cases to GPT to just understand what kind of things users are saying or to frame the replies in a better way. So we try to break down the use case into specific parts and use GPT only to actually give do a great job in that a smaller use case. And we set so that the hallucination does not affect the customer. We end up setting up using our AI to set up these guardrails so that hallucination gets controlled as much as possible. And that is how so we have been one of the first people, that is why, to roll out GPT for e-commerce use cases on chat, right, on both for the buying journey and for support. We recently rolled it out in June, mid. Right. So, so yeah, that is why we were able to do it so quickly because we were already prepared for all of these things to happen. And there will
Yeah.
continue to be more and more advancements, right? But AI is not like that level of plug and play thing where it will just solve everything. It will work for every person, right? That specialization has to be done on top of it. It's like a general human being, right, who can be trained to do anything, but at the end, you have to give that person a training when he comes to your company or comes to your function, right? So that is the specialization we have built, and that is why we are focused only on e-commerce use cases. Because
Yeah.
right from the beginning, we did that because we knew from the technology front that level of specialization helps give the best kind of experience on the AI side, right? You cannot have a horizontal AI which is serving like 10 different verticals, which is what many people have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is why the overall experience ends up being very subpar because it's not able to really go in depth and solve that industry's use case. Hmm.
These are again very insightful things. People like us really just get into the hype of things, I suppose, and start imagining, dreaming about what all can be achieved. So yeah, so obviously, if only it was so easy, everybody would be, be able to do it. But at the end, what I could understand is that at the end, it is still, it's a supporting, supporting AI that has come into picture. It is definitely improving lives and making it easier. But as you mentioned, there has to be certain level of specialized training in order for you to deliver the best output, right? So amazing.
Hmm.
So, talking about D2C, you guys work with a lot of D2C e-commerce brand. Can you shed some light how does that industry look like? Because if I look at, let's say, even look at, I'm not doing any research, but even if I look at, like, for example, a Shark Tank that has started happening, right, a couple of seasons, and we see so many D2C and e-commerce brands being started, right from their homes, right, and that which is amazing to see, and the kind of business these guys are doing. So, do you see that in your, in your journey with Limechat? Do you see how it's a booming market, and I feel that that is also one reason that you are sticking to this niche because it is a very fast growing market. So some thoughts around it.
Yes, D2C, right from when we started, probably there would have been just maybe 200, 300 D2C brands who are
Right.
really mid-market or large brands in India. And now that number is between 1,000 to 2,000. So that is the extent to which the growth has
Three
happened in
years.
3 years. And it has been phenomenal. Like maybe there has been like a probably 50 to 100% growth every year, I would say.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
um, it is because that of the entire ecosystem coming up, right? It is so easy to
Mhm.
sell on Amazon. It is so easy to run Facebook ads. It is so easy to build a website on Shopify. It is so easy to do logistics also now in India. There is this entire
Mhm.
ecosystem of enablers coming up. So you don't even need to see the product actually. Like you can probably just sit in your house, order products from a distributor, order packaging,
Yeah.
do marketing through an agency, build a website so using a SaaS tool, do marketing on WhatsApp and email, and just monitor the metrics. Right. So it is that simple. You just need to have an idea. You need to identify the right users and develop something decent, and then you can really start to scale. And
Hmm.
mm, and yeah, that is something which has gotten really accelerated with Shark Tank as well. It used to happen in the US, which I guess
Yeah,
drove the D2C boom there. And that same thing has started
absolutely.
happening here. Now, a lot of people know how to run D2C brands, what metrics to track.
Yeah,
One, not apart from like the family entertainment kind of angle, there are a lot of people who actually get inspired to
absolutely.
see people in
Absolutely.
such tier two, tier three cities sitting at home and
Exactly.
running such a huge business. So,
Yeah,
as a lot of these people start, and with these enablers, they end up growing. And for us, the ICP is these mid-market and large D2C brands, and lot more newer and newer people become a mid-market brand, right?
yeah,
Every month. So that is, yeah. In India itself, the market is huge. Of course, we also sell globally. So
yeah.
globally, the market is already very established for D2C brands. Hmm.
Right. So which countries has Limechat expanded to, and how does the future look like? Like, is it
Hmm.
obviously India? I also personally know that you guys have captured a very good market share, and I think that's growing year on year. What other
Hmm.
locations are you targeting? How challenging is translating the information, the download from the Indian success to these locations? How does that look like?
Yes, so we had built everything on WhatsApp for India, but fundamentally, what we have built is just an engine which can sell and do support and marketing as well on any chat medium. So it was just WhatsApp as the preferred medium in India. So we
Yeah.
started by just going to other places where WhatsApp is prevalent, like Southeast
Right.
Asia and UK, and we got some initial customers there. But our aim was to always crack the US market, and
Okay.
took us some time to figure that out. But then eventually we realized that Instagram is the answer there, right? Like there are that same kind of chat journey in the which we have built on WhatsApp is something which brands want on Instagram, where you can, if people want to sell on Instagram, they want to market on Instagram DMs, and their customers are also coming for support on their Instagram. People are commenting about stuff, right? And they want to
Hmm.
use that kind of AI capabilities to build that same journey on Instagram
Hmm.
DMs. Taking the same engine, we just I would say build the product, build a small tweak for Instagram, and
Right.
started selling to the US. Right. So that
Amazing.
is yeah, that has been like that is one of our biggest focus areas also now, to
Awesome,
sell
awesome. But Instagram
start
also
expanding
opens
there.
up, but Instagram also opens up a bigger market for you, right? Globally, right? I think
Yes, yes,
Instagram has presence almost all developing and developed nations, so that opens
yeah.
up there as well. And all right, awesome. What kind of challenges do you see in the US market? Let's talk about the US market. Like,
Hmm.
what do you see any problems with sitting in India, selling in US? Is it a difficulty? Is it a challenge? Is the credibility question, even though you have a great product, is the credibility question because you're not a US player at this moment? How does that
Yes.
turn out, and how do your investors help and support in this? If you could just share us.
Yeah, we definitely faced a lot of challenges around credibility when we started.
Hmm.
Because in fact, there is just in India, what you can do is just do outbound, right? And in the D2C
Yeah.
space, that doesn't work really well, especially when you have low credibility. In the US, the D2C space is very tight knit, and it works a lot on trust. So you actually have to be there, go to events, and crack some partnerships, and then you get in on the inside of
Okay.
that entire ecosystem. So that is what we had to do. So in fact, for for the last 6 months, my co-founder Nikhil went to the US, and another team member went with him to lead the entire GTM thing, right?
Hmm.
So that only by doing that we were able to get our initial 10 customers from there,
Right.
right? And now we have finally started to see some of those things working remotely. Now
Nice.
start some traction through outbound, through the app store, and through some partnerships done in a remote way.
Right.
So
Right.
gradually, I think that engine will start getting built up. But in
Agreed.
to get the initial sense, to I believe it was very important to be there.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah,
Okay. That is also that is something that I've heard a lot of founders talk about. A lot of founders disagree with this statement as well.
yes,
Disagree with being present in the US. But personally, also I feel it is very important for that face to face kind of interactions, gives you that first level of credibility in general itself, right? There's a genuinity that presents itself when you're sitting there, and have a local kind of a presence. And end of the day, the initial case studies are very important, right? Then you can start building upon that, right? And US is
Hmm.
all about case studies. US market definitely demands those credible
Yes.
the brands where they have a recall, not just big brands, but they can recall those case studies, and then it becomes comparatively easier to sell, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is also a very good insight. Very similarly, like we've also, as a service business, also talking to people like we've also come to realize how important events are, how important it is to be there in the market. That's why we're not just looking at the US market, but also looking at, we've never actually been present in Bangalore itself, right? Where
Hmm.
our for us everybody is in Bangalore. So we've this is
Yeah.
something that we've starting with SaaS Insider coming in. We're going to be spending months now in Bangalore also. So this is
Hmm.
again, I think I completely agree. This is very important to be there and take that kind of a step. Amazing. All right, awesome. I'll be wrapping this up. Just a couple of more things I have to talk about. As ChatGPT is very important that we've discussed. I think what is also important to discuss with you is about the funding winter. Like, how do you feel about that? Do you think there is? I'm sure everybody knows this is a slow period right now. And
Yeah.
but personally, for Limechat, what kind of challenges, if at all, are you facing, or you feel that uh, you've built that sustainable business where investors are happy with you, and the
Hmm.
approach that you're following is completely fine. So thoughts
Yeah.
around that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how should one tackle this kind of a phase?
Yeah. Hmm. I guess our investors were very had that foresight, and they were really helpful in a way when given the fund that high period was going on in 2021. They gave us
Yeah.
that advice to raise a round of funding, and we were actually able to do that, so that we had a big war chest which would help
Mm-hmm.
us do our expansion in for the next 2 years. In fact, even for now, we have almost 2 years of runway because once. Um, I don't even know how it started. Maybe it was the Fed cutting the interest rates, or
Yes.
increasing the interest rates,
Yeah.
or
The
the public
Russia-Ukraine
market
war.
collapse. The
Yeah.
the
Everything.
war,
A lot of things
everything
came
happened at
together.
once.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So immediately, like in just a 1 or 2 month period, I realized that all deals had stopped. People are just not. I probably like in for 3 months, I did not even hear a single funding news, right? And I think all the metrics say that. But 2022 was so completely. I think at least the last half of 2022, and then the whole of 2023 will be this kind of period where like people
Yeah.
will those the kind of valuations we got in 21, the multiples
Yeah.
which people were getting, the loose due diligence which was happening, that is never going to happen at least for the next 2 3 years, I think. So yeah, like we definitely had to like once we realized it was happening, we decided realized we have to start becoming more efficient and start becoming run things in a leaner
Hmm.
and not burn on unnecessary things, do fewer experiments, right? Not just spread ourselves too thin. And
Yeah.
that kind of discipline helped us a lot in actually running things better, becoming more metricized, right? Real understanding the ROI of each activity, doing experiments also in a very disciplined way. So
Yeah.
it actually brought some much needed discipline to our business, especially as we were in a growth phase, right? It I think it would have had a good positive long term impact on how we are running things also. So in that sense, it was a boon for us because we had the money for that period, and it forced some kind of discipline on us. Um, right?
I think that's the
Yeah,
positive of everything that happened, right?
yeah,
The,
yeah.
the the one positive that most of the businesses and founders have realized is that you need to
Yes.
go a little more sustainably in a leaner fashion. This is
Hmm.
amazing. I think that gives more purpose to what you're
Hmm.
doing, the business that you're doing, and the kind of scale that you can achieve. The sense of achievement also will be much more in this case
Yes,
because you've
yes.
done something with limited resources and in a very sustainable
Hmm.
fashion.
And
Awesome.
one thing which was very
The sec
interesting was
Yeah,
we
yeah.
realized that like when we were becoming efficient, it was just a 2 3 month period where we focused on that, and at the end of the period, we had a 50% lower burn, but we had the same output, right?
Awesome.
So we realized like that is how inefficient we were when we were
Wow.
doing things with thinking that there is a complete abundance of cash, right? So yeah, like that was something very interesting. That is what gave us that insight to
That's
keep
great.
on continuing over there. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, the last thing that I can't, let you go without, I want you to definitely talk about, your experience with Growth Spree. We worked for about
Yeah, yeah.
almost, I think, 13, 14 months
Yes,
together.
yes.
So
Yeah.
just whatever you feel about Growth Spree, did you enjoy
Yeah,
working
yeah.
with us? How valuable were we, in fact,
Right, right.
eventually?
Yeah, so at that time in 20 so in 2021, right when we started our growth journey, like I said, right in March,
Right.
we I would say we would have hit product market fit around March or April, and we were really able to scale up starting from then. So we had maybe 10 customers, 10 15 customers in March, and by Jan of 2022, we were at probably 70 80 customers, right?
That's great. That's
And at that time, we decided to do some more scaling up. Until then, it was all about just doing outbound and a bit of partnerships. But then we started
great.
doing performance. We started doing performance marketing, social media, events, and all of this as well. So we really set up our marketing team at that time. And for us, it was ki, where should we get a performance marketer in-house or should we get an agency? And we realized ki in the beginning, it would be good to have an agency because we don't know specifically what kind of channels or things are going to work out for us.
Yeah.
So at that time, I believe maybe around Jan or Feb of 2022, we would have started working together. And the experience was really good. I think we worked for the whole year, and in that year, we would have grown around 5x, 6x probably, right? So we were at maybe 250 brands at the beginning of 2023, right? So, and in the end, like 50% of our entire growth was coming from performance marketing. And also, I was happy with that whole setup because of that, and how like you guys were really good in terms of the analytics, in terms of making that visible very frequently and giving those insights from the analytics. That is something which I really like. So yeah,
Thank
it
you so
was
much,
overall a
Aniket.
great experience. Mm.
Thank you so much, Aniket, for those kind words. So,
Yeah.
this is the end to the a great podcast. I think, Aniket, personally, I feel I'm lucky that I've had this conversation for the last 40 minutes with you. I have personally learned a lot today. And one thing that I'm definitely taking, and whoever watches this later on should take from your journey and you personally, is that you've always taken those calculated risks. You, and along with the people around you, also have been very similar in being able to identify what could happen next and work towards it, right?
Hmm.
Be it GPT in the AI sector, be it the funding and the funding winter that could happen in the coming future, and building MVPs, talking to customers. I think you've been very. It's always going to be risky, but you've tried to be as safe as possible and make sensible decisions to move forward. That is something I'm definitely taking from this session. Thank
Hmm.
you so much, Aniket. It was lovely talking to you, genuinely. And I hope to see you in Bangalore when I come. And wish you all the very best for Limechat. And I hope we see Limechat all across the globe, not just
Hmm.
US and India, but in different countries.
Awesome. Yeah, it was really great talking to you also, Shan, and I really enjoyed again talking about the journey. And hope it helps a lot of other SaaS entrepreneurs
I'm
out there.
sure it will. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
Uh,
I think we should follow. A lot of SaaS founders should follow what you've done and should learn from you. Definitely. And hats off. Definitely. Hats off to your experiences. Thank you so much, Aniket, and have a great
thank you.
weekend. Bye bye.
Bye.